Welcome. In front of me is a Honor 10X Lite, and today I will go over unboxing along with a quick overview of this device. So let's pop it open and see what we get inside of the box. There we go. Then here we get nothing on the top, and we get some instructions, so we keep that to the side. Then we get app gallery. What is this, like poster or something? Oh no, it's a little instructions. They decided to advance from a single little piece of paper that basically advertises to an entire brochure towards their app gallery, because it's such an achievement to have an app store. To be fair, they do also advertise a couple different things. So they have Cloud, substitute for Google Cloud, Pedal Search, which is the substitute for just typical Google search, and a phone clone, Huawei ID, which is, I believe, just like normal account. And what we get on the other side, we get, same thing, I believe, just in a different language. So anyway, just yeet that to the side. There we go. Get the phone. There we go, there's the phone. I'm gonna put it to the side right now. Then we get some paperwork, SIM eject tool, and more worthless trash. Okay, so wrap it back in here and throw it to the side. We get a charger, seems super budget. Let's see, this is a max 22 watt charging. If it could actually focus on it, that would be great. There we go. So hopefully you can see it, it's right up here. That's not the worst charger, and it's also not the best, so yeah. Now here we get a USB-A to USB-C charging cable, so that's at least nice. And then we actually get headphones. That's a surprise. So if you still use trash headphones like this, then you get a pair with this. Great. And that's all we get in the box. So let's also power on the device. And while it's turning on, I'm gonna quickly go over the display settings, or display quality, I guess. As it turns on, there we go. So this is a 6.67 inch 1080p by 2400 IPS display. It comes with an 84.3% screen to body ratio and a density of 395 pixels per inch. So it is a okay-ish display. It's more than okay-ish, for considering the price of this device is about 230 euros. This display is actually really good. Now obviously it won't look anything like super futuristic. You won't have like almost non-existent bezels or curved glass or stuff like that. It's just a normal display. Additionally, it does not have any kind of higher refresh rate, which is to be expected, to be honest. It does come at only 230 euros, so expecting, I don't know, 90 hertz from this is, I would say, kind of not reasonable. So let's quickly go through the setup just so you can see how this looks like. And while I'm going through the setup, I will mention a couple of things. So number one, the device does not have a Play Store, obviously. It does not have any kind of Google services that you might be used to. So things like Google Maps, some Google Cloud or stuff like that, they're all gone from here. So unfortunately you won't be able to use those. Now there is a workaround, which I did record a video about not too long ago, where you just download an app. I don't actually remember right now the name of the app, so sorry, but I believe it probably will be in the descriptions if you are interested, or you can just search for it. But yeah, you basically download an app and it installs all the services, and unfortunately you do have to launch applications or download them through this app, because the app itself comes with a Play Store. But once you do, you can basically add the shortcut to your home screen and have access to any kind of application downloaded from the Play Store. So that is still quite handy, I would say. Now, anyway, setup is done. As you can see, this is the display. It looks fairly okay. It does get bright. It looks decent, sharp. No complaints here. Now, if we flip the phone over, we have the camera setup. Now, even though it looks decent, just stop right there thinking that it is decent. This is a quad camera setup on a budget device, meaning that the only usable camera is the main one, and that is by far the experience that I have with almost every phone that comes below the like mid-range price. If it doesn't cost like $500 or up, the cameras, apart from maybe one or two primary cameras that come with it, the rest of them are just trash. So don't really take in consideration how many cameras there are, because that usually doesn't really matter. And here, going quickly over those, we have a 48 megapixel wide sensor, which is probably going to be the primary one that you should be using all the time, and only this one. Then we have an 8 megapixel ultra wide. Now this could be used occasionally. The quality, the sharpness of the photos is a little bit lacking. That's because it isn't only an 8 megapixel sensor. And then we got the offenders here, which is the 2 megapixel macro and 2 megapixel depth. Now, from experience, the depth sensor is the one that basically breaks the photos, so don't even ever consider using it. While the 2 megapixel macro gets, by far majority of the time, outperformed by just a 48 megapixel wide sensor, which begs the question, why the hell is it even here if it's outperformed by a primary sensor? So, just so I don't talk about this too much, you can actually see the results of this. I'm gonna, let's see, grab my little planty right here. Oh, good little cactus. Let's do it later. Okay, so here we're gonna start off, I believe, with the wide sensor. I'm just gonna make sure that it is at its full quality, and it looks like there's no settings associated with it unless I have to go into like pro mode or something. So I'm just gonna quickly check just to make sure. So high res, there we go. So this is gonna be capturing it at a maximum resolution of at 48 megapixels. Otherwise it does capture it at 48, but then downscales it. So I'm gonna zoom out or move the camera a little bit back just so it grabs a focus on it, and let's there we go. So there's the 48 megapixel shot. As you can see, you can zoom in quite well. The detail is there. It does become a little bit, I wouldn't say grainy. It does struggle with like capturing this kind of texture right here, but as you can see, it looks good. That's as bad as I can call it. The detail is there, which that's primarily what you would be looking here at this price range. Now going to normal portrait mode. Portrait mode I picked because it is using the depth sensor, so we can get a fairly good idea of how the photo will look like with it. Oops, come on, grab a focus, there we go. So there's the depth sensor at use, and I can already see the problem here. So it's barely visible, to be honest, but it is there. If you look at this little region right here, specifically this one, those needles are a little bit too short. They're not short, they're just being completely cut off by the blur. They're so blurred that they fade with the background and you can't even see them. This is what usually the depth sensor does. Now in here, honestly, it might be to do with the fact that there is so much whiteness in the background that it just blends with it, but in normal circumstances it looks way worse. This actually at this moment doesn't look that bad. I'm gonna maybe try once more, just so I can show you what I mean. Now this is just a bad photo on my part, a little bit blurry as you can see right here, but honestly it actually looks fine. But to be fair, I don't think it's using the depth sensor actually, because if I go to normal photo, the photo shouldn't differ all that much. They should be basically about the same at this moment. So boop, photo there. And let's see, so this is the normal photo. Again, my bad, it's a little bit blurry right here, but it still doesn't matter because what I'm looking here for is not really the sharpness, because we already know it captures decently sharp photos as long as you give it a little bit of space or distance between the subject. I didn't, that's why it's blurry. But what I'm looking for is the like halo almost around, which is created usually by the depth sensor for like these fake bokeh effects. But this is the normal one, which doesn't actually use the depth sensor. And if we go to this one, this is with the depth sensor, there is no difference between them. They look exactly the same. I can go back and you can see the blurry effect behind is the same, as well as the little path that the plant is in as well. Same thing here. There is no difference between them. So it looks like they just actually added a sensor that might be used for, I don't even know what. Usually those are used for portrait modes, but it's not even used in portrait mode here. Which again begs to differ, why is it in here anyway? So now I'm gonna quickly go into this super, or not this one, super macro, what they call. There we go, super macro. And let's capture a photo right here with this sensor. Now, super macro does allow you to zoom or put the camera really close to the subject, as you can see, and it will keep focus. Now, a little bit too close and it will start being too close, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so there is the normal one, and I'm gonna do one more thing. I'm gonna go to photo right here. I'm gonna just capture a normal photo. There we go. So this is the normal one. Again, a little bit bad on my part. As you can see, it's blurry up here, but doesn't really allow me to zoom in all that close. Probably should have done it with the high-res one. And then this is the macro. Now, to be fair, I'm gonna go to the high-res one just so I can give a fair comparison. So let's bring back the plant. There we go. So this is the high-res one, and you can see a massive blur around it. Focal point was primarily here, but let's just compare this. This is right now zoomed in with the high-res photo, which means it uses the 48 megapixel sensor, and you can see that this is fairly close and fairly detailed. Now if we go back to this one, this is the macro. Now it allows you to zoom in closer, but there is less detail in this. Like, by far, this looks a little bit more blurry and just kind of like weird. I can't really describe the quality of it, but it is not great. So honestly, if you're planning to use a macro shot, just go for this one. It will give you a little bit more in terms of quality. So, like I said, that and macro here are just complete and useless garbage. But anyway, let's move on to the actual bread and butter of this phone, which is the specs of it, or what you pay for. So we have Kirin 710A. So I believe this is like a mid-range processor from Huawei or Honor. They're basically the same company. So nothing greatest, but from using it right now, I don't really see any problem with it. It works fine. There is no problems. Doesn't really lag too much. It's not the fastest phone, but obviously it's running better than expected, in my opinion. And then in terms of storage, we only have a single version of it. So we have 128 gigabyte built-in storage, along with 4 gigabyte RAM. And honestly, it should be good enough. 4 might be a little bit low. Prefer to see a little bit more, but still, it should be fine for most of the people. And additionally, as you can see, you can expand the storage using the 2 different SIM cards and an SD card as an expansion slot. So we do have quite a nice versatility here. And moving on, battery here is a 5000 milliamp hours. So it is a fairly big battery for a device like that. So it will last you a decent amount of time. Probably 2 days should be good. Now I'm kind of grabbing extras. I don't exactly know how long it will last, but I'm speculating that it will be somewhere around 2 days if you're not planning to use this device super heavily. And then we do have that 22 watt charger that I did mention before. And they advertise that it charges the phone up to 46% in 30 minutes, which, to be fair, it's pretty nice. Considering it's only 22 watts, it does seem to charge it fairly quickly. Now obviously the advertisement stops at 46% because probably to charge it to 100 it will slow down drastically after that point and charge it probably in the next 3 hours to full. I'm just kind of guessing here. We'll see if someone does the office test, so how fast it charges. But still, to be honest, 46% in 30 minutes is really good. I can't complain about that one. And going back to the price, it does come at only 300 or 230 euros, which makes this device fairly competitively priced, I would say. It works fine. It's missing a couple different things, like, as an example, a higher refresh rate, which I would prefer to see, considering we do sacrifice the lack of Play Store here and all the Google services. So I would consider this to be a good trade-off, because at this moment the price for performance is fairly okay, but that performance has not, well, it's kind of lacking the Play Store, which I am heavily dependent on. So for me, this phone wouldn't really, I wouldn't really want it, because it does lack the Play Store services. And yeah, not much more to say about it. If you rely on those, then you probably won't be looking at this phone for too long, because there's other alternatives from Xiaomi, as an example, which come at the same price, have, for most part, actually better specifications, and actually come with Play services. So other than that, if you're not like super into Honor, Huawei, that kind of brand, then I do recommend you to look in the Xiaomi direction. They do have some decent phones that will outperform this one and also cost basically the same amount as this. So yeah, that being said, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.